Hello.
Fine. Good to see you.
To office?
From Kenya.
Very good. Very nice to meet you. Good to see you. Hi there.
Hi.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Hi there. And we've got our council member, Lydia Acephados, here. Let's come on in. We're going to be in our conference room. Thank you. Come on. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi there.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
What happened to yours?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Nice. Gentlemen, we are in here. Come on in.
Water? I heard that.
I think Pam's going to help us out with that.
I sure can.
Please. Yes. Well, thank you for being here. Hi. Yeah. Nice. That's right. That's great. I wanted to make sure we got Councilmember Acephados. Well, why don't we get some, I think Pam's going to help us out. When did you get in town?
One was yesterday.
Yesterday?
Who said water?
That's great.
Who said water?
The
One
senator.
for you.
Yes.
Senator Doctor.
Thank you.
What else? Lydia, you want to-
I think I've got my,
Oh,
one second.
Thank you. Do you think of other
Thank you.
areas? Yes.
So what part of Kenya do you represent?
Central, there's a place in the center part of Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is called Murang'a. Just near the tallest mountain.
In the Ingang Hills?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ah,
Well, I've only seen Out of Africa about a dozen times, if not more.
oh.
So it's really one of the things I want to do is I would love to go check out the farm in the neighborhood called Karen. They named the neighborhood after Karen, the famous writer from Out of Africa.
Thank you.
Yeah, have you ever seen the movie? Yeah,
A long time ago.
yeah, I know. It's great. It's really, but the movie starts because it says I owned a farm at the foot of the Yangon Hills.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And Dennis
He's
is
a
a,
historian, just so you know.
yeah.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
He always
thank you.
quotes history. and-
Well, actually, I saw that in the movie. You remember how it ends, and even on the cover of everything, it shows that Dennis Finchhotten is buried at the top of a hill, and you could see the valley. But now that area is all wooded and overgrown,
Yeah.
and you can't really see the valley from there because it's so overgrown. But have you been to the memorial there for Dennis?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, fascinating. It was really, yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, yeah. I think that there's so much wisdom you can learn. Now, our council member, Acephados, you grew up in, or you were born in Ethiopia, right?
One is,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh. Yes, personally I've been to your country.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I know about it so much.
I was there in January.
Oh.
Ah,
Which part of Ethiopia?
I stayed in Addis, but also visited areas that were affected by the war.
Oh, Tigray.
Yeah, so around Tigray is where I went though.
Okay.
Places where there's also people who were impacted by the war and who are displaced, and schools and hospitals that were affected. So visited those and just provided them with whatever their needs were.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah.
Hmm.
But I stayed in Addis over the rest.
now what year did you leave Ethiopia and come to the United States?
79.
79.
Oh, many of us.
Yeah.
Oh, I was not yet born.
Right?
Right, right. I was 13.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. So, oh, great. We've got. Hi, how are you?
I really apologize.
Oh no, it's okay.
we
Jennifer.
didn't mean it to be African time. It
Good to
just
see you.
happened. Good to
Thank you
see
so
sir.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Jim George. Nice to meet you, George. I'm Jim
How are
George.
you?
Thank you for coming.
See you.
Hi, how are you?
See you.
Nice to meet you.
And I'm Lydia.
Nice to meet you. Please. We've got room over here.
Okay.
Yeah, please. Would you like any coffee or? Oh, you've got it.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you
Kathy's
so
all on.
much.
Okay.
Let me know if you want anything else.
Yeah, I'm probably due to watch that movie again. I try to watch it about it. We're talking about out of Africa, and you know, they're just a beautiful country. Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom in that movie. When I played college football, I'll tell you a quick story that relates to. I played college football at the University of Washington.
Oh, wow.
Not very well. I was a walk-on. I was a non-scholarship, but I played for 4 years. And we, at the end of the year, we ended up going to bowl games. You know, you guys know what the Rose Bowl and the different types of college football games at the end of the season. So the University of Washington's a great program, and so when I was a junior in college, we ended up going to the Independence Bowl in the Midwest, and we're going to play Tulane. And Tulane is a college from New Orleans. And so we get, when you go to these ball games, they give you watches and they have the bowl, the name of the game and everything. But they also give you a little bit of walking around money. When they gave us $200, all the players. And you know what I bought with that $200? I bought the soundtrack to Out of Africa. Because I really, and in fact, I listened to the soundtrack yesterday. So there's one of the things I really want to do at some point is go to Kenya, and really because it's just we're going to go to Ethiopia too. We'll go. Well, right? We have to.
Right.
We have to because you're going to be with me, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I just wanted to let you know that. So yeah, I feel a particular connection.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's great for you to have us. I've lived in Federalway and Kent at the same time. Also an investor,
Mhm.
a group home provider, and I also have a non-profit for the immigrant and undocumented families.
Mhm.
So we really appreciate all the work and all the working together and all the efforts that are coming along.
It's great.
And so this is home.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
so
great.
Culturally, whenever you have a visitor visiting your village,
Right.
the whole village shows up. You know, they
Yeah.
gotta come and meet, and so because you couldn't come,
Right.
we brought our senator here.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now, how many senators are there?
47.
47. That's great. Wow.
Because our country is divided into 47 counties.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and I was chief whip in
Mhm.
the Senate.
Ah.
Yeah, but we were removed because of some politics.
Exactly.
I think, yeah.
Now that we can identify with.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you're at. I've got a 14-year-old son, and I tell him there's politics in everything. It doesn't matter what you're in. It's there. It's just it's the clash of ideas with people everywhere. So, but it's about having good systems in place to make sure that you can have differences of opinion and different ideas and still be able to govern together and collectively. And what's happening, like just an example is, what's happening and with the great tragedy, what's happening in Ukraine right now is, just a travesty and where just a breakdown of civilization. And so it's great to see such a great functioning democracy and, yeah, exactly. Now, there was a day was originally from Kenya, was he not? Oh, Nigeria, okay. Yeah, and actually his brother was on their,
Judge, judiciary.
yeah, he was a justice. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Yeah. Everybody here, and I think everybody from this. Oh, I was looking for you. Yeah. I mean, so we call this home, and we love that diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And more so for that reason, you find there's a lot more immigrants concentrated in the city and
Right.
Kent than actually many other places.
Right.
And also the accessibility of
Mhm.
services. I mean, like when we are doing whether it's one-stop business licensing,
Right.
and then like now we have quite a number of the nonprofits that have been acting as their trusted messengers, and just being able to have that conversation between the city or even the location or the state, and then growing together, and so that everybody gets together value in as well as contribute to the society.
Right.
Yeah, and so on behalf of the nonprofit, because we do have a
And how long have you been in Federal Way?
Since 2011.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
11 years.
Yeah.
How do you like it?
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, my house, like where I go to sleep, is in Kent.
Mhm.
But I do have another house here,
Mhm.
business house actually, and also my office is here.
Yeah.
So I spend more time in Federal.
Right.
Actually, I know more people in Federal and everything about Federal than Kent.
It is true that we spend so much time in our work lives
Right.
that it is you know such a separation really between your work home and your and your other home. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I mean, Senator, you can hardly get into any store in Federal Way and not run into a Kenyan.
Yeah.
That is true. You know, I say as you walk,
Hardly.
like 10 people or 20 people find one.
Federal Way, hardly.
Yeah.
Yeah, any store, anytime. So this is our this is our home base technically, and so we are delighted that you could also come and meet with our mayor. And who knows?
So, how long have you been a senator?
5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
We are due to have an election the next 3 months. We are campaigning.
Oh, good. I know what that's like.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really
I know.
campaigning
Yeah,
like nobody's business.
that's good. Yeah.
Like now, my party is technically in opposition. It's an opposition party.
Yeah,
So you imagine you're fighting the government.
that's right. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
But before that, I was a member of the Assembly, the National Assembly.
Mm-hmm.
I served for 5 years.
Mhm.
Before that, I was in the council.
Ah.
Yeah, I was a member of a municipal council.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
That's right, just
it's
like-
almost 15
yeah.
years in politics.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wow, that's great.
And previously, I was a student in
Yeah. Wow. Where'd you go to school?
University of Nairobi. I did law.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Exactly. That's right. That's right. It helps. I went to the University of Washington and then went to law school, and it really was going to law school is like I often have described it as like turning on the lights in a room, and it's like now I get it. Kind of everything kind of fits together. Yeah, really. It was really interesting. And then the internships that you do, and how'd you get into politics?
When I was in the university, I was suspended.
Yeah.
So when I went home, I decided now to try my hand in politics.
Right.
So I was elected.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then immediately on being elected, we were reinstated back to the university.
Right.
So
Right.
that's how I got into it.
It is amazing how, things like that, what sometimes seems like a setback in your life, I would actually say that sometimes the most important things that happen in your life are to start off as setbacks.
Yeah,
They,
that's true.
they do.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
when I was playing football at the University of Washington, I tore 3 ligaments, and and on the last day of practice in my sophomore year, I couldn't walk for 3 months, but I came back, played the next year, but it was only because of that injury and coming back that I earned this big award at the end, and it kind of set the course for all kinds of things. And I would say that some of the biggest accomplishments have come as a result of really horrible setbacks.
Yeah.
Whether it's losing an election,
Yeah.
first time ever, and that's important sometimes.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
And
It
you-
is.
if-
I mean,
If you think about like American presidents, George Washington lost his first house for George Washington lost his first race for the House of Burgess in Virginia because he thought it was because he didn't provide enough alcohol at the parties, and he said he would never make that mistake again, and he didn't. And he won the next time, yeah, and actually, but even if you think about George H.W. Bush, a president that I worked for in the White House back in 1992, I did an internship, and I'll show you the pictures. When we get all done, I got to show you my office.
oh yeah.
And so, but that president, the first Bush, lost his first time out, and then he lost his Senate race. But then he got a series of appointments, and next thing you know, he's the vice president and the president. His son lost his first bid for Congress, and Bill Clinton lost his first bid for Congress in 1974. So there's a whole string of United States presidents that Barack Obama famously
Right.
lost that congressional primary. He couldn't even get on the floor of the Democratic convention 8 years before he was the nominee because he lost that congressional primary. So I do think that sometimes the loss is very important, not only for individuals but organizations and countries. You learn more from your losses than you do your victories.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So anyway, we are happy,
Yeah.
and we got to bring a courtesy call, and maybe to seek some few discussions, if you don't mind.
Hmm.
One, maybe you could tell us the policy of your entity concerning twinning. Yeah, we'd be very glad if we could start such kind of collaboration. I don't know whether you require formal request for twinning. I don't know.
Or we're talking about our sister city? Is that what you mean?
Twinning,
Yeah. Well, actually, we're looking for partnerships. That's something that I wanted to make sure that the council member was present, because I know that she's got a passion to make sure that we've got perhaps a sister city or a relationship with maybe one or several cities on the African continent. And that's why it's serendipitous that you're here, so we can have these conversations about that.
What would be the procedure for that?
Well, I think it's just make it up our mind we want to do it. I tend to try to cut through things, and things don't need to be. It is the will of the entities to partner, and I think the council would need to approve it. But what we want to do is make sure that we've got and have some cultural exchanges. Usually, what we do is we partner with a particular city. We just actually I mentioned Ukraine before. We had a lot of. And I'll turn this over to you in just a moment. We have sister city relationships with a city, one in Japan, one in Korea, and then we just made a partner city, a sister city with Rivne, Ukraine. We just did that about 50 days ago, right when the conflict started. Well, not conflict, right when the war started, the invasion started. So really it's about finding a good partner that we can have some good exchanges, cultural exchanges, financial and business, where we can have substantive exchanges. And we really want to also have partners where we can make it a real partnership, where we could go there and have your delegations come here and we go there.
Fine, maybe to escalate the matter forward, maybe we'll do a letter,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can probably table the letter before your relevant organs
Mm-hmm.
for your consideration.
Right.
So what city are you looking at
Good question.
as
Thank
a
you.
city?
Well, it's a small town. It's called Muranga. After the new constitution was enacted, we did away with cities. Technically, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we did away with cities. We changed our model of governance. So we have the national government and what we call devolved units, which are basically entities consisting several urban areas. But they have the power now to create cities, which are not really democratically elected, but they are just administrative units. So basically, therefore, the request will be will be made by the county to be on behalf of that county, which is like a region. Maybe from an American point of view, you'll be talking about, there are two angles to look at it. Either an urban area within that entire county, or alternatively, it is the entire county which will be making the request. Of course, the choice and the determination be done by your very good council.
Right. Lydia, any thoughts on that?
Yes, and it's a great idea, thank you. It's just the compatibility that we need to consider, so, we're a city of 100,000 people, but also we have we have hospitals now, we have tech hub, we get Tacoma, so there's different entities here, children's hospitals, we have a lot of things going on.
Right, a lot of
So
medical.
as we're looking at becoming a tech hub here in Federalway, that similarities would be very helpful, because whatever you're exchanging, whatever you're doing with the sister city has to match up. So that would be the only thing I would bring up to this conversation is how do we relate in deciding that relationship or building that relationship.
Right. Yeah, and then just maybe some, I think a letter would be a great way to start that off, and I think that, hitting some of those points about maybe some, as you know, some sectors in our economy, whether
Yes.
it's, whether it's tech or the hospital, I think you're absolutely right, the medical facilities here, we have quite a number of medical facilities, hospitals, clinics, that kind of thing. So it's likely, because of where we're situated geographically, in the Puget Sound area, we're right in the middle. And that's why a lot of people move here.
One of the conversations that have been really gaining momentum in the community is one. A lot of providers or healthcare and in-home based care providers are from specific regions of Africa, specifically Kenya. To put it in context, we have about, give and take, 3,700 adult family homes in the States, and down here to King County, or even specifically February, I'll just give a rough estimate in relation to the community members, Kenyans who own adult family homes. I'll float a number of 200, because we do a lot of resources distribution for small businesses. So one of the things that has been really evolving is around healthcare. And because there's a lot of sometimes barriers that crop up. There are some other systemic barriers for sure. There's the issue of the socio-economic issues. And so one role our organization plays is the trusted message of all, whereby we are reaching out to our people and telling us that it is okay. And then reaching out to the government and saying, okay, you tell us what's going on here, so then we put a cultural lens to it. So bringing it back to this conversation is because they've been mapping like the issue of the community clinics and the issue of what our sisters and brothers in the Hispanic communities have achieved under the CMOS clinics program. And so these are people working in healthcare, a lot of them healthcare professionals, not only providers but professionals, living and working and investing in the role and saying, we still cannot get our employees low cost access to some level of care, right? Because of all these other barriers that ride on each other. And so we've been saying, they've been asking, they ask me sometimes when I'm not coming to a consult, I'm like, okay, we'll talk. But now that we're here, I might as well. So they say, is there a way we can collaborate and have some clinics that angle in on the African, East African immigrant population? Because and then they say, they say, the Hispanic community has done it.
Right, they have.
And we also have our own medics, we have our own healthcare professionals. Is there so maybe just to throw it out there, because healthcare is universal, which means that if such a city or a county considered it, that would be an area of collaboration that would be easy to create a framework.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Because then it would benefit the city, whatever that might come up, and at the same time back here, it's easy to map it because there's a need.
Right.
Which I'm very, very sure that the state and also in conjunction with the city can work together and say, okay, let's come up and see if we can come up with that.
I like that. A great deal. Well, and we should, we could get
So
the.
there was a time when ICHS was considering coming to Federalway. I don't know if you recall that.
I do.
There was a conversation with Tim Johnson. So is there like a health clinic that you can think of outside of probably your, those medical facilities that can establish, that can come to Federalway and be here? Because we as a city are not the healthcare business.
Right.
However, it's a conversation to have and to
Yeah.
partner.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
thing, because then that's where the community comes in, because
Yeah.
we actually right now we have quite a good number of medics, trained and fully, we have registered nurses. In other words, what is missing, or the support that they would be looking at, is the infrastructure. So just like the infrastructure that helps or supports the Hispanic community be able to run under SEMA community clinics.
Right, exactly.
Exactly, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the part.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So I think it's just thinking around the framework,
Yeah.
and then, working together with your city and their city or the county, whatever level,
Mhm.
and saying, okay, so maybe, because healthcare is universal. We need it here, we need it, whether it's Nairobi or it's Kenya or whatever it is. I'm just thinking about, because I know one of the considerations that you mentioned is the compatibility.
Right.
Or, yeah, something that you have where you
Yes.
could, you have that partnership where you are exchanging ideas or
Yes.
thoughts or
Yeah.
building something on, otherwise it'll just be, hey,
Mm.
hello, I love you, bye. Bye.
What part of the country were you from?
Over in Kenya,
Mhm.
the same city, Murang'a. Yes.
And what's
It's
the
a small town.
Right, okay. What size, you think? What population, what do you think?
Yes, the population of that city is about 100,000, almost like here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but now the entire county, yeah,
Yeah.
it falls under a county of about 1 million
Wow.
population. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes. And the weather, of course, is almost similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because of the mountains?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
because
always
of
think Africa's like burning hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're around the equator, and then there's that elevation.
Right,
yeah.
right.
So the weather is almost, in fact, almost similar like this place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. But the outer, the region surrounding the town is definitely more into agriculture. Yeah, coffee, tea, such.
Do you have I should know this, but do you have a parliamentary form of government where you've got a prime minister, or do you have a direct elected president?
It is like America. We
Yeah.
have presidential system
Yeah.
of government. We have a president who has the executive, and then of course we have a parliament comprising of various political parties, and of course the judiciary.
And what's your political party?
Currently I'm a member of the ruling party, which is called the Jubilee. Yeah. But that is from a legal point of view. From a de facto point of view, Jubilee has split up into two. So I have shifted into another
Why is it,
political
are you able to
position.
say, why is it, what are the factions about? Why did it split? What's the ideological?
What happened?
Yeah.
We are yet to fully turn into an issue-based political system. But what happens after the 2017 general elections? We usually have two major political parties. So my party is the ruling one, and then you have an opposition party, which their strengths are usually almost equal. So there was, after the election, the president went and did what we call a handshake, like a collaboration. He decided to enter into some political collaboration with the leader of the opposition party. Yeah, and we called it a political handshake. But the effect of that was to alienate the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, who was the one who was supposed to come and after the current president goes home, take over the reins of Jubilee Party. So when the president made a rapprochement with the opposition, deputy president was sidelined. Some of us followed the deputy president.
Right.
And you have now formed a separate political party, which is called UDA, United Democratic Alliance.
There you go.
Yeah. So us are those who support the deputy president. Oh, where is the? Please get the.
what?
The
Oh,
gifts.
hold it, okay.
Yeah. So
Oh.
yeah. So we formed a political party, but the president currently is supporting the leader of the opposition to succeed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ah, I
Yeah.
see. You know, we've had a couple of, we've had, in the United States, I'm very much a student of history, and, there have been certain situations, probably most notably, the most recent was in 1992, 30 years ago, where you had the emergence of that new party, it was Ross Perot, and the emergence, and it was a, what's that?
Independent.
Yeah, it was a third-party run, was it?
Perot.
Yeah, Perot,
Perot,
right, in 1992. And then it was about almost 80 years before that, in the presidential election of 1912. Everybody knows who Teddy Roosevelt is, right? And Teddy Roosevelt famously stepped away to let his friend be president for 4 years. And when he came back, then he went to Africa, he went to South America, almost died in South America. And when he came back, he thought his friend would give him the nomination again, and that was not the case. So that was William Howard Taft.
Yeah.
And Taft, who I happen to share a birthday with, said, no, former Mr. President, I want to stay president. So famously, Teddy Roosevelt formed what they called the Bull Moose Party. And that was the first time in really history that a sitting U.S. president came in third place at the polls. But that's how Woodrow Wilson became president, because the Republican Party split, and the Democratic Party with Woodrow Wilson came in. So, but we've had a very stable partisan structure since then. Abraham Lincoln was the first Republican president, but 4 years before he was elected in 1860, the Republicans formed, and the Whigs sort of just disappeared. So it is, but since 1860, we've had just two major political parties. You had some other parties in the early 1896 and 1900, but for the most part, it's been Democrat and Republican. So it is very interesting. Do you know what your numbers are with the new party, or what your percentage of the population is?
Yeah, the various credible opinion polls seems to suggest we are almost 50-50, but our party a little bit popular.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're 50-50 among
50-50.
the split Jubilee. So half Jubilee here, half Jubilee, or is your half of the Jubilee 50% of the entire population?
Entire population.
Oh, interesting.
So the Jubilee that leans government,
Yeah.
plus now the opposition, support is almost 50. Our party support is almost 50. It is not really something new, yeah. When you study the effect of presidential systems,
Yeah.
vis-a-vis parliamentary systems,
Mhm.
you find presidential systems tends to create what we call a two-party split.
Right.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Naturally.
When
When you look at parliamentary system, it creates a multi-party system.
Correct. Yes. Just like the Knesset in Israel, Great Britain, India. You do, and it's a real fracturing. In fact, actually, I watched very carefully about how the Israelis put together 61 votes in their Knesset, and all the alliances that it take, and then that's where Netanyahu is extremely deft at putting together his very very narrow but consistent majorities. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But finally, after this last stretch, he finally ran out of real estate, and ran out of votes. So it is interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So when is the president's term up?
August. So
Wow.
we are really
Same
campaigning.
time as usual.
Yes, everyone is going home. So we are campaigning. We are in the last 3 months to the elections.
Wow.
So we are really campaigning.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know whether we'll win. I am vying to become the governor.
That's great. Good for you.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm not sure we're going to get there in time to help out with the election.
No, if you are just to tell the people, yes, I'm going to consider pairing with my county, I win the election. Don't worry, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I know. Well, I think actually, you know what's really, I think the rule of law and the respect of elections and the fact of elections, I think are just, what we see happening in Russia is very concerning. And, 30 years ago, we all, well, you're a little bit younger, but but not that young. I mean, you saw, the fall of the wall in '89. And I think there were some real hopes that Russia, and for a while there were, that the Russian Federation was a true functioning republic. But that is clearly not the case, and it's really unfortunate, sad.
Yeah.
Now it's slid into just a pure dictatorship.
Yeah. So.
Thank you very much.
Can I give my thank you? No.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So that's the deputy president.
Mm-hmm.
Him here.
Yep.
On in my part. Yeah.
Very good. Wow. Well, I am really, really looking forward to receiving that letter and continuing discussions. I think you're absolutely right. Something as critical as healthcare would be a great thing to discuss about. But I'm excited about these elections. I'm gonna start studying pretty close. Exactly.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
No,
I know a thing or two about campaigning. Oh, you gotta watch out. I'll show up
no,
there.
Kenya is a vibrant democracy.
Yeah, it's great.
We really have freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really, it's a real, we're almost there toward becoming a full democracy.
That's great.
Yeah, for the last, how many years? 30 years. We've been having regular elections.
Yeah.
And,
It is. It's precious. Yeah.
There's a fun fact too. So it's about a country of about 50 million people. Wow. 65, 70, about 65, 70% of people the age of 20.
no, that's not true.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, the median age.
Yeah, that's the median age.
No. We aren't such a.
It is really young. I think so. I was checking up, but anyway, I was checking the last census.
Yeah. Quite. So.
But either way, it's a young country.
I've actually.
Let me see.
This is the second time in a week I heard this statistic, that the population of certain African countries will exceed that of China at some point by the next century because of the manner in which the countries are dealing with it. The second time in like 2 or 3 days that I've heard this.
No, incidentally, my country is
Yeah.
almost the opposite.
Yeah.
No, Muranga is an aging society. Our county is an aging society. You find it as a very big proportion of the elder. Yeah, huge proportion. In fact, my county, the fatality rate of women is about 2. But by the way, it's two children per every woman.
Which is considered,
Yeah, who is falling?
it is,
It's
because
falling.
I think.
It used to be 4.
It used to be 4.
But now we are almost 2.
2.
In fact, I think it's a national.
Yeah.
It's a national rate.
Hmm.
So ours is not really a young population. Yeah, maybe
So the rates, so there's 50% women and 50% men, is that what you're
yes.
saying? Really?
No, he's saying like if you were to look at an average of how many children every woman is having,
Is having
it used to be 4.
Okay, now
Yeah,
it's
but
down.
now
That's
it's down
going
to
down.
2. Yes.
Yeah.
And so what it means is that if the county has an aging population, it means that it has fewer young people.
It's not keeping up.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, and that's the driving. Because I know there's a time just a while back we were doing a paper in Highline, and that's we were looking at the recent census. Was it 2019? Yes.
Like now ours, when you compare Muranga population of 2019, when they did the census,
Yeah.
and the one was last 10 years was 2009.
2009. Yeah.
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 We didn't increase our population at all.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It was 1 million.
Yeah.
Now it's 1.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's 1 million. It's almost 1 million.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, yeah.
What you said is too crazy, the younger generation has
Yeah, I mean, yeah, by and large, because I mean, even when you look at it, just the demographic, just a casual, as long as the population is not growing, so it's aging,
Yeah.
more or less, right? But then the replacement, and then the, the, the level, where the bulge
Mhm.
swells up, right? So that's the one that's productive, but at the same time also productive in terms of the new generation.
Right.
So when it's chopped off on both sides,
Right.
it
Yeah.
works.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, would you like to see my office?
Thank you.
Yeah, come on in. I got some pictures I can show you.
Fine.
Hey, Lydia, come on in. All right. So this room actually has all the prior mayors.
Oh, thank you.
So these are, and we switched, we used to have a city manager form of government. And these were all the mayors under the former form of government until we get to Skip Priest. He was our first elected mayor, and I'm the second elected mayor. I was elected 8 years ago.
Oh.
8 years, and I'm in my third term. And
So
now 4 years.
before they used to be the council.
Yes. Yeah, it was a city manager form. So now it's the mayor. The council's the legislative body, not the executive.
Who elects you? The people there?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, the people in the community.
So you are from which party?
It's a non-partisan race, but I'm in a range.
Oh, still not the right.
No, it's a non-partisan. But I am a member of the Democratic Party, and I affiliate with the Democratic Party, but I don't run as a Democrat. Yeah.
Tell them what these two mayors,
Oh.
former mayors are now.
Yeah, actually, Jack Doby was mayor under the old system. Now he's back on the council. Linda Kochmar was our mayor under the. She was actually the last mayor under that the former system, and now she's back on the council. So we,
They had left and now they returned.
and now they're on the council, but they're former mayors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
We have, the council meets in here for important meetings to decide, certain policy issues, if we can't do it out there in public, under executive session. Yeah, so this is a conference room. It's called the mayor's conference room. But let's see the mayor's office.
Okay.
So before we go into my office, I want to show you something. So
Francis, what's that?
this picture, and I don't know if you've ever heard of Norman Rockwell, but back in America, back in the 30s and 40s, he was a very famous painter. And this picture is called Freedom of Speech, and it's an iconic picture that represents a citizen coming to a town hall meeting. And I told my wife when I first got elected to council, I wanted this picture because it speaks to what city council does, which is to hear from the public. That's a picture of Mount Rainier from Vashon Island. That's the Hyobus Waterway. That is a picture of the Earth from 700 miles out. It's referred to as the blue marble. When it was taken 20 years ago, it was the most detailed picture of the Earth ever taken. It was taken over a 3-day period. I've got my wife gave me this for Christmas one year. President Lincoln, and obviously we could spend all day talking about President Lincoln. But here's my office in here. I'll go this way, and you can see I really love black and white photography. So I'll get the folks in here. Come on in, you guys.
Oh,
So as you can see here, I've got my wife gave me this picture when I became mayor. This is the picture of Winston Churchill on the newly commissioned Prince of Wales, back right when the war in Europe was breaking out, and he was literally on his way to meet with FDR. So when I saw this picture and I told my wife there was a picture of Winston Churchill, I definitely wanted it in my office because it's just a great picture. It's a great moment in time. That was actually the second time that Winston Churchill met FDR. The first time was when they were both Navy officials in their own republics. As Churchill, many years before in World War I, was Lord of the Admiralty before he became PM in 1940. So this is a picture of, this is one of my favorite pictures. This was taken in a hotel room in Los Angeles. It's a copy of the picture. I've actually seen the original. It ran in Life magazine. And this was when, on the day that John F. Kennedy was nominated to become President of the United States. That's his brother. That's in a hotel in downtown Los Angeles. My family and I have actually stayed at this hotel. And do you know what they're thinking about? What they're talking about? They're trying to decide who the president was going to pick as his vice president. And what they didn't know, and they knew ultimately they were going to have to pick LBJ, who Bobby did not like and did not want, but they had to have it because they had to have Texas. And if they didn't have Texas, they wouldn't win. So here they are making a difficult decision. What they did not realize is that in that moment they were picking the next president of the United States because John F. Kennedy would be dead 3 years later. So it's a monumental decision. This picture right here is a picture that I've wanted of the Earth right there. That's called Earthrise, and that picture was taken on Christmas Eve of 1968 from one of the, I think it was Apollo 10, as it came around. Originally, the orientation of the original picture is actually the other way around because that's the way the astronaut took it. But that was the first picture taken of the Earth from the moon, and as you can tell, it's just hanging there like it was just out in the middle of space. And that obviously came in what had been a very tumultuous year for the United States in 1968, after we lost, Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King. So it was a very tumultuous year. It's also the year Richard Nixon became president, and there had been riots in the streets. This rock right here by Anna, this is my favorite place in the whole world, other than Federal Way. This is Cannon Beach, Oregon. And this is if you take a look at this picture, this is where my family goes for holiday. This is a picture at a different time. But that's called Haystack Rock. It's on the Oregon coast. And it's really one of the most beautiful locations. As you can see, I've got quite a number of books. This is me when I was much younger. I was a senior in college at the time. That's my political mentor, Pete von Reichbauer, who was a state senator at the time. That was our governor at the time. When you're governor, I'm going to have to get a picture with you. It'll go prominently in here. And that actually right there, that picture. Remember, I said I worked in the first Bush White House. This was his vice president. I worked in the vice president of the United States office. Now, I worked there for 4 months. I didn't get paid. It's all the Diet Coke I could drink. I was an intern. All the Diet Coke I could drink, and I worked for free for 4 months in the White House. And that was on picture day. His name was Dan Quayle. And actually, I'm still in contact with him. He lives in Arizona now. You can see, before I was mayor, I was an attorney for King County. I was a King County prosecutor. So I worked for 16 years as a prosecutor, and those are some of the awards I received. As you can see, I'm very much into history. This actually is some just personal things. College graduation. You can see most of my interest in history is American political history, but European and Roman history as well is very much an interest. Those are some of just awards I received, and these are when I played college football at the University of Washington. This award right here is the only award voted on by the players at the University of Washington, the Huskies. And it was the first time it went to a non-scholarship player in the history of the program. Again, remember I told you I hurt my knee. I couldn't walk for 3 or 4 months. I came back and played 2 more years. So sometimes it's the setbacks in our life that really set the course for much bigger and better things.
I like your collection of books. I also love political, historical books.
Yeah, it's really. I'll tell you what's really.
But one of the
So
most.
you need to send him something from Africa. I don't.
Yeah.
Yes.
He doesn't have a collection.
Yes.
Yeah, let me
Putting on
take
the
a
spot.
photo. So that.
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah, I've really liked your collection, and one of the most important political story I've ever liked is how this guy was defeated immediately after winning the war.
Exactly. It's a
He's
great.
good.
Yeah. Right. It is really astonishing. Yeah. Clement Attlee, right?
Yeah. You fight.
Yeah, but this
Go,
picture was
go.
taken. This is taken, I think, when he made his comeback.
Yeah.
This is one. So I love this picture.
Oh. Okay.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, he saved the
Yeah.
world
Then you
from
said,
tyranny.
"Oh."
It was gone. Right. But I think what happened is, I think he took the eye off the ball, and I think he misunderstood the economic circumstance. You know, there's a more recent historical example of that.
Yeah.
George H.W. Bush, the first Bush president, after the Gulf War, his popularity was sitting at about 90%.
Can you photo this collection? Eh?
Yeah.
I don't
Hi-
know. I can't.
his,
trust the camera.
Zoom it.
Yeah.
His popularity was sitting at the first Bush was
Yeah,
sitting
yeah.
at 90% a year out. But what he did in January of 1992, a few months before that picture was taken,
Yeah.
there was a recession, there was an economic downturn, and you know, unfortunately,
Yeah.
or, you know, for him at the time,
Yeah.
he misjudged the political landscape. Now, some of these are really. All right, you're gonna get me talking about my books.
Yeah.
So, I gotta tell you,
Yeah.
there are a couple of these books that you're absolutely, for a political person, are absolute must.
What
This-
happened? What happened? So
Yeah.
he has won the war.
Yeah.
He's 90%.
Right.
So then what happened?
Well, finances. I think he appeared. You know, the problem is that he didn't come after it very hard his election, and the financial situation started to worsen. And the other thing is he appeared out of touch, and also he went back on a promise at the 1988 convention, of which this book focuses on.
Oh.
This is about all the candidates in the 1988 presidential race. I bought this book across the street from the White House. And this chronicles all the candidates in 1988. Probably one of the best books I've ever read. What happened is George H.W. Bush promised no new taxes.
Okay.
And he said the words, "read my lips,"
Yeah.
in 1982. The problem is that when he got in, he ended up having to raise taxes. So his opponent really made it sound like he was untruthful to the public, and that's what happened. It turned, and he lost badly. And then the thing that happened in '92 was another Republican got in the race and split the Republican Party, just like what happened in 1912 with Teddy Roosevelt. And so when that split occurred, a Democrat came in, and that Democrat was Bill Clinton. So a couple of books here. This book, Team of Rivals, it's an absolutely essential reading, and it details Abraham Lincoln's cabinet.
Yeah.
Now, when Abraham Lincoln was not supposed to be the president.
Yeah.
He was a one-term congressman,
Yeah.
12 years before, in 1848. But he was able to capture the nomination. He won the race. And what did he do? And this is actually a very key thing. All of these men were his competitors.
Yeah.
This guy right here, William Seward, was supposed to be the president. But he made him his Secretary of State. And he made Salmon B. Chase, this man, the Secretary of the Treasury. He made this person a person who hated him, the Secretary of War. So he had all these people that were his rivals, and he put as his cabinet members. And his chief political advisors are like, "What are you doing?" And he says, "If I put them all with me, their success will be my success." And it was a stroke of ultimate political genius. And ultimately, they all helped each other. And he was the first Republican, the first president to be reelected in 36 years. Actually, hold on for a second. It was 28 years. It was no president had been reelected since 1832. So it was 32 years. So no president had been reelected since Andrew Jackson had been reelected in 1832. So by the time you get to 1864, Lincoln was convinced that he was going to lose the 1864 election in the middle of the Civil War, which would have been disastrous. There would be two United States of America. The most important presidential election that ever happened in this country happened in 1864, and he won it. Then what was interesting, Grant, who started the Civil War, and I could talk all day, but
No, don't.
well, what's interesting is this Ron Chernow is really one of the great writers in America, and he actually wrote, his first book was all about Alexander Hamilton, which that's more at the beginning of the country. But Grant was a military man when war broke out in 1861, he was unemployed. Well, he was unemployed, and then he got a job working in his father-in-law's store. He had been an officer in the army, but he had gotten out of the army, and he had tried everything, and he just couldn't make a run of it. War breaks out. He enlists. He becomes a brigadier general. He leads some troops in the western area, and within 3 years, he leads an army of 500,000 men. And then he is appointed the head of the Union Army, defeats Lee in Virginia at the Appomattox Courthouse, and 3 years later, he's the President of the United States. Within 7 years of being essentially ruined and unemployed, he is the President of the United States. It's one of the greatest rises of power in American history, if not world history. So Nixon's got a great story. Teddy Roosevelt is a great story. This is, again, all the candidates from 1968 race. I'll tell you what a really good book is The Last Line is absolutely indispensable. The Last Line, all about Churchill, is absolutely required reading for anybody that wants to be in politics. And really, he saw what was coming and the danger, the storm that was rising in Germany. But I'll tell you what was fascinating that I read last year, which was really when that picture was taken, and about what happened in France, and about how Churchill saved his nation from what everybody considered to be impending invasion, and how they did it. And the shock and the surprise that everybody had, much like the way Russia just unsuccessfully invaded Ukraine from multiple different ways. That's exactly what happened to France, and then what Churchill's concern was. Let's see. Oh, there's a book that there's two books here. Augustus is a very important read. Augustus was the first emperor, really the first emperor of Rome.
Yeah.
And this is really very interesting. Obviously born as Octavian, and then Julius Caesar. Really, probably one of the most pivotal moments in world history when Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon.
Yes, continue.
And really, so what happened was Octavian. I won't say the whole story because it's a longer story.
Yeah.
But what happened ultimately is everybody's heard of Julius Caesar,
Yeah.
right? And everybody understands, But his nephew was Octavian, and that struggle really, and that conflict of power, ultimately, Julius Caesar was up in Gaul, which is modern day France. He got sideways with the Roman Senate. There was a breakdown there. It was all about a presidential election, or what they call consular elections. And his conflict with Pompey the Great, his former brother-in-law, and they had a triumvirate. One of the individuals passed away, and it was just Julius Caesar and Pompey. Civil war ensued, and then it was illegal for a soldier to have soldiers in the city of Rome, and or even in the peninsula. So when he crossed the Rubicon. The die was the Civil War, and so then down the road, he was eventually assassinated several years later, and eventually, about 14 years later, his nephew Octavian becomes Augustus, the August one, and really, it is said that he took a nation made of clay and made an empire made of marble. And then he started that off. And so really, you used to have two Roman consuls that ran, and we're talking about forms of government. There used to always be a real balance of power, and they abhorred kings, and they did not want to have kings. And so, but once Augustus becomes emperor, then you have concentration of power, and you have the Julian Claudian line that ruled until 37 AD, 41 AD. And then obviously to 400 before the empire eventually fell, but it was all under emperors. So it was really the loss of their republic. They're very interesting, and that's what SPQR is about. SPQR, which is really Mary Beard is one of the renowned Roman historians, SPQR stands for Senatus Populusque Romanus, which is the Senate and the people of Rome. And if we were in Rome right now, and you saw a park bench, or even one of those manhole covers, you would see that emblem. It is still the emblem of Rome. It was on all the standards. And it means the Senate and the people of Rome. And even throughout the emperor time. So, yeah, these are...
And this one, the power broker?
Yes, yes. Well, that's actually...
No,
that's
that
all.
one looks Machiavellian.
It is. Good reference. Well, this is all about, this is Robert Caro.
Yeah, this one looks
Remember that what this is?
like 48 Laws of Power
Right, that's a
by
great book.
Robert Greene.
That's a great book.
Huh?
So Robert Caro has written the definitive books about Lyndon Johnson, Means of Ascent and Path to Power.
Oh, the path to power.
The Power Broker, Robert Moses, was an individual who essentially ran New York City, and he for about 50 years really remade New York, and not just New York City, but the state. And he was never he ran for office before, but he was always the power broker behind the scenes. And anybody who wants to be in municipal or county or even state government or county government needs to have this on their shelf. This is really one of the definitive works of governance.
Oh, you seem to want to seeking your services?
Oh, hi there. Hi.
It's part of us.
Ah, very good.
Oh, okay.
Hi there.
Sorry.
So, let's see here. This, really, I'll tell you, the book that started it all, the first really book that I got into was American Caesar, about Douglas MacArthur. Douglas MacArthur was a 5-star general. He was the Supreme Allied Commander in the Pacific Theater in World War II. And that's a very interesting story about World War II.
Oh.
This is more of the B shelf, but I've got probably about 15 books by Richard Nixon, and which is a fascinating story. So yeah, I've got a lot of the other presidents and American history,
Okay,
the Civil War. Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly.
We wanted to take you
Oh,
photo next to those flags.
Absolutely.
If you don't mind being assistant here,
Oh, Lydia.
Well, are you live?
well,
Let's take some shots just to do this real quick.
oh,
All right.
thank you.
Here we go.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. We take congratulations for the good work you have done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
We need one too.
Thank you.
Are
Yeah,
you-
for
are you gentlemen ready?
Can I join it?
Not yet, we're gonna do one more with them.
Okay.
Can I?
Let's do one more. One more.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I need one more too. We need one for the city. City has not gotten one yet.
Thank you.
Okay, you gentlemen okay? Can I cut in front of you?
Yeah, no,
Can I cut in front of you?
no problem.
Okay,
All right. Here we go.
okay, there we go.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Where do you want me?
Right there.
Aw.
Right there in the center of the picture.
Thank you so much. Beautiful.
Yeah, we need this.
Okay,
This
ready?
is one we need.
Yes.
This is the official one, okay?
Yeah.
You're all good?
No, this is the one I want.
Okay, this is good.
Thank you.
Thank you
So much.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thanks for letting me show off my office. It's fun.
You don't mind your card?
Oh, yes, sir. I've got it right out here. Do you have a card? Thank God for Bill.
There you go.
I know.
Oh, it's the new one too.
Let me text. I'll text.
It's the new one.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm going to text
One for
you.
you too.
See you later.
Yes, yes, thank you.
You know what?